Hola dogs, this is Isaac Harthy here, and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2021. I saw Spirit Untamed on Friday, and before my review I have a few words to say regarding certain topics surrounding this. Firstly, the animation studio that produced this, DreamWorks Animation. Sure, plenty of animation studios have had slumps in quality before, but in my mind, none have had a greater fall from grace than DreamWorks, from producing amazing animated films like Shrek, The Prince of Egypt, and more, to producing films that commonly range from mediocre to downright terrible. Sure, sometimes they could make something that doesn't suck, but sadly that's becoming increasingly rare to see from them, and how it would take a real miracle to fix them. I mean, hey, if Sony can drastically improve themselves, then I'm sure DreamWorks can too. Hopefully. Secondly, the original Spirit. I like that movie. Quite a bit, actually. It has some amazing animation, well-developed characters, and a nice score. It even spawned a Netflix series that I haven't seen, and also haven't heard too many good things about it. Also, unfortunately, it's worth mentioning that the director of the original Spirit, Kelly Asbury, tragically passed away last year, with this film being dedicated to his memory. So you'd think that maybe DreamWorks would put a tad more effort onto this sequel to give both a quality film for once, as well as something that would make Asbury smile at them from heaven, right? Right? No, instead, I'm sure that his reaction from heaven probably looks similar to something like this.
Don't make me come down there, you punk!
Yep. As expected, this movie was pretty bad, and now I can explain why. For the plot, it's about a young girl named Fortuna, with the alias of Lucky, moving to her father's house in the small rural community of Miradero, where Lucky's mother was a popular horse rider until her untimely death, and she meets two girls named Abigail and Prue, as well as the titular wild horse she named Spirit, whom her father is strongly against Lucky riding because he's a generic worrying dad. But then Lucky teams up with her friends to save Spirit and is heard from a group of evil horse wranglers. With the plot aside, I can now point out the biggest problem that this movie has. It relies way too much on cliches. The writing is just extremely formulaic and has plenty of outcomes that you don't need to be a psychic to see coming. The tone has some cliches with its breakneck speed, mood shifts, and awful pacing. And the characters all have at least one cliche attached to them. Lucky is a generic main character who just so happens to be adventurous. Abigail and Prue are the generic comic relief sidekicks who the main character befriends. Lucky's dad, Jim, is, as previously mentioned, the generic worrying dad. And the villain, Hendrix, is the generic villain who is pretty intimidating but doesn't have anything going for him besides he's evil. Well, that's a couple problems I just listed there, but thankfully this movie isn't complete garbage. For instance, the animation is relatively okay, where despite being a bit choppy and stiff at times, likely due to it dethroning Captain Underpants as the cheapest DreamWorks animated film, but not using its low-budgeted visuals to their advantage similar to the latter, the overall character designs and environments do look nice, and the writing scenes and action are pretty fast-paced and enjoyable. Not to mention that this movie admittedly does have its heart in the right place and can make for some nice dialogue at times, and just knowing when to be heartfelt in general. Also, for the fact that this movie's composer is relatively new to the film scoring game, Amy Doherty, I don't know how to really pronounce it, gives this film a great soundtrack akin to something from Hans Zimmer or John Howell, and gives a great first impression for her style of composing and what we could expect out of her if she composes more films in the future. But in spite of its perks, Spirit Untamed is a waste of time where the great soundtrack and decent animation are overshadowed by the film's poor writing, terrible pacing, and underdeveloped characters. For my recommendation, just watch the original Spirit. It's really good, and definitely more enjoyable than this one. And DreamWorks, I don't know what's gotten into you, but man, you've fallen from grace recently. Hopefully Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans can be good, because unless somehow you've at least one moment of redemption, you're on your way to an equal level of quality as another animation studio owned by Universal. Such a shame. Now it's on to the part you've probably been waiting for, my rating. Here we go. Got my music ready, and rating time is go. And there you have it, my review for Spirit Untamed. Join me in about a week or so when we review 3 movies that are coming out in the same day. Yep, 3 whole movies on the same day. Firstly, we got Wish Dragon, which is basically it just looks like Aladdin but in China rather than the Middle East. So not really looking forward to that. In the Heights, obviously I'm looking forward to it. It looks really good. I plan to watch it with my mom, actually, because she's also excited for it. And maybe my dad, since he used to work in Washington Heights. And then Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. About time it came out. It was supposed to come out in April last year, but because of these extenuating circumstances, it had to be pushed back quite a lot. Yeah, I mean, the first one was a movie, I guess, but this one's just... I'm not excited for it. And there you have it. That's all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you'll see a little button down there that'll say subscribe. If you haven't clicked it already, please do. If you look a little bit to the bottom left, you'll see my social media. If you can follow those, that would also be great. And I'll be seeing you all next time. Bye.